All right, hey everyone, welcome to the project instructions. And so this is just a little bit of information on why I chose this project, what I'm expecting, what to do, etc. Hoping to get all your frequently asked questions out of the way. Again, if you have any additional questions after watching this video, you're more than welcome to email me anytime. But let's get into it. I'll share my screen and we will kind of go. I'll show you where to find everything. Um, so first is you can just go to assignments or in the modules in the weekly as the weeks come up where project stuff is due, it'll be in there as well. But let's take a look. The instructions should be located in multiple spots, but let's go to project topic first because that's the first thing you're going to do. And you can see the instructions here. The instructions for this are just for the project topic. If you've read through the syllabus, you know that this project is broken down into stages to make it a little bit easier to help with that time management and to kind of get you started on it earlier and teach you kind of how to go through a project in stages. For the full project guide, you can click on here and you can download it. It's in the files section of our Canvas page. It's right here. You can keep it, just look at it here, whatever you want. And it starts with kind of, again, the purpose. So I kind of have a dual purpose in this project. One of them is to get you to experience more about a topic you're interested in. And so for those that are majors, you can either do the career that you're going into. So what area of psychology are you going to go into in the future? And you can learn more about that so that before you get to grad school, before you get to that career, you can know kind of the ins and outs and get that head start on it. And then if you want, you could also do any other one. So if you already kind of know about the career you're going into and you want to explore a different area of psych, or you're confused and you don't know which area, I remember I wanted to do two different areas of psych when I was at your stage. And so you can look at and explore either or. If you're a non-psych major, you can really, there's an area of psych for everything else. So you can hopefully maybe tack it on to something that you're interested in. So my kinesiology majors usually do like sports psychology. Nursing majors sometimes do health psychology. Business majors will do IO, industrial organizational. You can really do anything that maps on to your major, or same as with the non-majors, if you're just interested in a different area and want to explore it, you're welcome to do that as well. So that's kind of one of the purposes. The other purpose is to help you explore writing with a different audience. So writing is more than just putting words on paper. As we've all figured out now, ChatGPT can write the words on the paper for you. What's more of that process? So writing is also thinking. It's putting things together. It's figuring out what story do I want to tell? What is most important, right? The history of any of these disciplines is going to be really, really, really big, and kind of condensing it into 3 to 5 pages is going to be difficult. And you get the creativity and you get the idea to figure out what is most important in the story and what do I care about learning more. And then you get to choose those things. And that's part of the process of what we do in psychology and in history in general, is figuring out what is most important. How do we craft the story? How do we tell this to an audience that is maybe unaware of what's going on? And so that's kind of one of those purposes of why I'm having you write it as a letter to another student, is crafting a story towards somebody who doesn't really have that information. So you're not writing it to me. I already have all this information, or most of it. There's every semester I find out something new. But I know most of this, so you're really writing it to somebody that's younger than you that doesn't know this. So you get that chance of explaining it, and then again of figuring out what to put in there. So it's a hard thing to do, but that's why we're practicing it. Now, some of these objectives, again, this is a capstone course, and I know most of us don't know what that means. At UNR, capstone means that I'm responsible for checking that you're still mastering skills that you've learned in some of those early COs, particularly like CO1 and CO3. So I'm looking for your writing skills. I'm looking for critical analysis and thinking skills. So again, that's going to be, how are you choosing what to write about? How are you engaging in information literacy? And in case you don't know that term, information literacy is knowing where to find sources, how to evaluate whether the sources are good or not. And so we're going to be practicing that mostly in the update and kind of that first draft piece of this project. So what are we going to do? We're going to choose a topic area. You're going to choose any psychology subfield. So again, health psych, sports psych, clinical psych, forensic psych, social psych, developmental, etc. There's millions, not millions, but you can figure out. There's some links here for different ones that you can go to if you want to figure out one. If you're unsure, you can always email me and ask me if it works. You're going to be putting it in your project topic, so I'll evaluate it there if it's too broad or too narrow or anything like that. And then we're going to just research the history of it. So we have 4 sections. We're going to research the far past. This one is a hard one for students. The far past and the future are the hardest two sections that I've noticed for students every time I've done this assignment. And that's because there's not direct answers in those two ones. So the far past is prior to 1879, which means it's prior to the founding of psychology. So there isn't going to be a psychology field to look into. So what your job here is to do is to figure out what other disciplines that existed prior to psychology had an influence. So again, if we're doing like criminal psych or forensic psych, we might be looking into the advent of laws or the advent of the criminal justice system, things of that nature. For sports psychology, you might be looking into ancient Greece and how they looked at athletes and developed the Olympics. For clinical psych, you might be looking at some philosophy or some medicine, things in that nature. So you're going to be going outside of psychology for this. And so you're really going to stretch those critical thinking skills of what type of areas might have led into this, and then research and kind of Google those. The recent past and present are a little bit easier because should be more information. Sometimes for newer disciplines, the recent past might mirror the far past a little bit, but there'll be more psychology related topics within there. And then the present is really getting you a sense of what does that look like now. The point of this part is you're going to be hopefully entering one of these fields. And I want you to see what it's like. I had no idea when I got out of grad school or into grad school what was really going on. And I want you to have a little bit of understanding of what that looks like. Again, condensing that information is going to be a little bit difficult, but that's kind of the point, is figuring out what part of the present matters the most to you. What are you looking at? Are you looking at the types of research they do? Are you looking at the types of jobs they go into? You get to explore kind of how you want to do that present. And then again, the future is a struggle because most people aren't out there predicting the future, so there might not be any sources. And honestly, I'd prefer that you didn't have any sources in the future section, because this is where I really want to see your critical thinking shine. I want to see, based off of everything you've learned about the past of that discipline, everything you've learned from our course in general, where do you think it's going? Do you think it's going in the right direction? Do you think there needs to be problems, right? In social psych, we have a replication crisis that's happening. That would be something big to talk about in the present, and then predict maybe where you think it should go in the future, right? We are obviously starting to struggle really with AI, right? We've already had a problem in clinical psych with AI, with apps and things like that, but now we're starting to see it in research fields. And where do you think that's heading, right? Anything of that nature, technology, the zeitgeist, what's going on in the world today. What do you think that impact is going to be on the future of the discipline that you're going in? So this is purely opinion-based. It's your opinion. It's an educated guess. And I don't expect you to actually accurately predict the future. We can't. I don't know what's going to happen. So I'm really just looking for a detailed critical thinking that matches kind of what that history is and how that's going. So there's really no right or wrong answer, as long as you really take a good stab at it. And then again, we're going to break it up into steps. We're going to start with just your topic. This is where I make sure that you're not too broad or too narrow. Some people try to write like a lit review. That's not what I'm looking for. People go too broad, so they're going to have difficulty finding information. So I'm just going to check that there. Our update is going to be getting those sources. So again, something I'm looking for is information literacy. Do you know how to find sources? Do you know how to evaluate them? And I'm going to help you with that. And we can, again, you can email me anytime. We can Zoom on office hours or anything like that if you have any struggles in this area. I'd be more than happy to help you. And then we're going to go drafts, because we don't usually write things one and done like we tend to do in college. Once we get out of college, it tends to have multiple drafts. So I want you to start getting used to that process, especially for my psych majors that are planning to go to graduate school. I kind of want you to start prepping that process. So we're going to do a first draft where you really just have to start outlining your ideas, right? This is where you're kind of just vomiting those words on the page. It's not clearly organized. It's not perfect. You don't have everything, but you're at least starting to get an idea of what you want to talk about. Then we're going to have a review of that. So me and the TAs are going to review it for you, and you're going to do peer reviews to get used to that peer review process. Because again, for my psych majors, if you are going into graduate school, that peer review process is going to become really meaningful for you. And so we want to kind of get you practicing that. And then we'll have a final draft. I call it the second draft because they're never really final. You just submit them anyways. But we'll have that and a letter to editors, and that will just be kind of what you chose to keep. So the letter to editors is like what you chose to keep, what you chose not to keep, right? So, or not to do. So sometimes you get editing advice and you don't take it, right? And that's totally fine. But why did you choose not to take it? Why did you choose to take it? What did you want to do? There's, once you get there, there is, sorry, I'm drawing a blank. there is examples on how to do that, because I imagine most of you haven't done a letter to editor before. So there's some examples on there. And again, you can always reach out to me there. Again, the biggest common things I see is struggles with finding stuff for the far past and then predicting the future. Other struggles I see is just getting kind of that first draft. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? The first draft is your first attempt. It's a way to start organizing ideas. It can be more of an outline type of situation. We just want something done so that you're starting that. And I think that's pretty much it. So if you have any questions, if you need help on any parts of these projects, that's exactly what my job is to help you find those sources and figure it out. So don't hesitate to reach out. Good luck.